Angry guy here, and Western women are being shamed by Filipinas for mocking the passport bros. Western women are being shamed by Filipinas for mocking the passport bros. So Western women have been on the hunt for Filipinas recently, and Asian women in general that have been cohabitating with and marrying the passport bros. They've been very frustrated and very upset that the passport bros are finding success in Asia and in countries like Thailand, the Philippines, especially Vietnam, even Japan. And they've referred to these countries as third world countries when Japan, for example, is definitely not a third world country. But they've referred to many of these Eastern countries, Eastern Asian countries, as third world countries. They've suggested that the reasons why the women in these countries are choosing to get into relationships with the passport bros is because they lack proper education, they can't speak English, and they're living in poverty and desperate to come out of poverty, and as a result they're cohabitating and getting into relationships with the men that the women in the West did not want. And the Filipinas are absolutely furious about this, as well as other Asian women, and they are really checking these women and even shaming these women. We're going to jump into this video, and then we'll talk more about the different ways in which Filipinas and Asian women are checking these women and even shaming these women. Let's go ahead and jump into it.
Why black women are so angry at black men is because they are really, really upset about not being wanted. On the other hand, black women know that these other races of women do want the black man. It's really, really, really heartbreaking when you think that nobody wants you, but everybody wants them. That's why they're really upset with you guys. How dare you guys be wanted?
Smart.
This. Don't fight with passport bros. Build with women. That's how we win.
What the hell did you just say?
This is terrible advice, and it makes absolutely no sense. So in a nutshell, she's telling the women, ladies, just date each other. That's how we win. Instead of what men typically do when they don't know how to get women and they don't know the RP, what do? They go to a woman and they say, hey, what do girls like? But women like this and many other women, so many of them don't have enough sense to ask the species of gender that they're trying to attract for advice. They just think they can figure it out on their own. Oh, man, never take it.
Now, yeah, guys, never take advice from a woman, but here's something interesting regarding that. Women can give you insight into other women, but they cannot tell you how to court another woman. And I'll give you a proper example. This is something I literally saw in my comment section. You don't ask a fish how to catch a fish. Think about it carefully. You don't ask a fish how to catch a fish. All right? You don't do that. A fish isn't going to tell you how to properly catch a fish. The job of a fish is trying to get away. Okay? The only time a fish is going to get caught is when it goes after some sweet bait. And you have to remember that a fish will never actually admit to what it's into. So for example, because it doesn't want you to know how to catch it. Okay? Fish doesn't want you to know how to catch it. It may act like it does, but it doesn't want you to know how to catch it. A fish knows nothing about fishing because a fish's experience is as a fish, not as a fisherman. All right? If you want to catch a fish, you go and speak to a fisherman. If you want to get a woman, you don't speak to a woman, you speak to a man that has experience getting into relationships with women, that understands what women are like, what women want, that have knowledge of female nature. All right? If you want to learn about women, you don't go to a woman, you go to a man who has experience with women. And they can tell you about women, because women can tell you about the idea of what they believe women are, but men cannot tell you about who women actually are. They can tell you about actual female nature. Why do I say this? Our mothers don't tell us about women. Ironically, it's the opposite with men. Men will tell their daughters, listen, sweetie, when you're going out and having relationships with guys, you have to remember that what guys primarily want is the butt. All right. So you have to be aware of that. But and you know, and the girl will say, "Wait a minute, Dad. So does that mean that when you were looking for mom, you just wanted the butt first?" Absolutely. And I don't want you. And I want to make sure to protect. Guys are like that. Guys are like that. They'll tell their daughters straight up. They'll say, "Sweetie, listen, Daddy was a hound dog. You know, Daddy was not a good dude, and I don't want you out there getting messing around with dudes like Daddy." And she's like, "But I love you, Daddy. I know, sweetie, I know. But you understand, Daddy did a lot of bad things in his day before he met Mommy. And even with Mommy, he did a lot of nasty things. And I don't want men doing those things to you and with you. So we're talking about this so that you don't go through some of those things." A man will sit down and tell his daughter these things. A woman will never tell her son about the way that she got his father. All right? She won't talk about it, because she won't talk about the deceptive things that she did. She won't talk about the fact that she won't talk about female nature and the fact that women are planning the divorce before they plan the wedding. They're looking at the exit before they even look towards the entrance, because they have to nail that. They have to nail the exit, because the exit plan is everything. It doesn't matter if you don't enter, if the entrance is kind of sloppy. The only point is that you got in there. All right. The only point is that you got in there. It's about the way you leave and how much you're able to leave with. And that's what women are concerned about. This is the reason why women aren't as women, you know, they may want extravagant weddings and so forth, but the truth is they're more concerned about the exit. That's why the moment a prenup comes up, they're like, pre what? Pre who? Pre what? Pre who? You know, Prius? Are you talking about a Prius? I like Priuses. You know, they're a little old school, but yeah, I almost drove a Prius when I was growing up. No, sweetie, I said prenup. No, you mean Prius, right? Prius. I had prenup, pre-nut. Did you have a pre-nut? Are you having problems with that down there? Are you know, because you know there's something that you can work. You can work on that if you're having some dysfunction. No, I didn't say I'm having dysfunction. I said you're signing a prenup. No, I didn't. Listen to me. Listen, I don't sign anything unless my lawyer looks at it. And to be honest with you, you know, a union is between us and God. We don't need a contract between us. And you're like, babe, the marriage license is a contract, and they're like, it is a written agreement between us and the Lord Jesus Christ. Amen. So when are we going to do this thing? No, we're not doing anything until you sign these documents. Listen, I ain't signing that. I ain't signing that for my life. All right. Listen, if we don't sign it, we're not getting married. Or is that a threat? Is that a threat? Huh? Is that a threat? You want to start a relationship like this? You don't trust me? You don't love me? You don't think we're going to be forever? Because what you're saying with this prenup is that you don't believe in us. You don't believe in us, all right? I could have chosen many other men, but I chose you. I chose you. And in the U.S. heaven, a lot of these Sims fold. Okay, guys, wake up. Wake up and understand female nature. Women will never take accountability, and they will use every method under the bus to extract wealth and resources from a man. Even the Filipinas, you can't just go into a relationship and be dumb about it. You have to make sure that there's a prenup in place before you marry her. All right, you don't just get married to a Filipina. A lot of guys you can't. A lot of guys do it and they're okay. But you're smart. You're different. You're listening to this video. Before you get married, you're going to have something in place. You're going to go and sit with a lawyer. You're going to have something in place so that she can't try to get half your stuff or anything like that. If you're even if you're able to, you can even try to have you can even negotiate a child support thing, something regarding child support prior to that. You might say, well, what if I negotiate for too much? Listen to me. That's why you negotiate for the least amount possible. All right? You can negotiate. You can say something like, okay, so I'll give you $150 a month for each child that we have. All right? I will give you $150 a month for each child. Or even you can negotiate down to $75. All right? Like if we get a divorce, I'll give you $100 for each kid per month. And that's a good one. I will give you $100 for each kid per month. And listen to me, when you understand that for a lot of Filipinas, $3,600 a year, $300 a month, right, is a salary. That's like a salary. That's like a normal salary in the Philippines that people use to pay rent, buy food. $300 a month is a normal salary in the Philippines. So if you're saying $100 per kid, that's more than enough to take care of each kid. And when her only options are between that, that's if you get a divorce, and her only options are between that or going and marrying a Filipino guy. What's she gonna do? And if she's looking at you and she sees you're a high value man, she sees that you're a high value man and that you're going to give her a good life, she's going to say, well, if I get divorced, then this is what I'm going to end up getting. So as long as I stay married, then I can do better, and maybe I can even. And if she is trying to like play the whole plan B option. First off, let me make it clear, you're a plan A guy. Foreigners are plan A guys to Filipinos. Foreigners are not plan B guys. Foreigners are plan A guys, because $30,000 is the equivalent of $300,000 in the Philippines. All right, like $30,000 is more like $300,000 in the Philippines. Not completely, but for a lot of things. All right, for a lot of things. Because like, for example, when I was living overseas, I had a 2-bedroom house that was recently built, all right, with a backyard. This place was nice, big, awesome, big rooms, shower, everything, nice kitchen. Guys, I rented this place for like less than $180 a month. I think it was like 150, 160. Signed the contract, and it was like in this new neighborhood that they had built. I'll admit it was kind of far out there, but it was not bad. All right. And even then, even if I wanted to live in the city area, I could still find something very similar to that. All right, maybe $50 more. All right, maybe $200. All right, so I mean, guys, think about that. $200 for a two-bedroom house, two-bedroom house, right? I mean, you can't beat that, and not a crappy place, but a really nice place. Well set up. $200. That's $2,400 a year. All right. How much are you paying? How much are you paying for rent? How much are you paying for something like that in New York City? Oh my gosh. In New York City, let's do the math. For something like that, a minimum of like 3,000. Well, if you were talking about in the borough of Brooklyn, 3,000 is very small. Okay, the living room wasn't very big, but like in Brooklyn, okay. Brooklyn, 3,000 to 4,000, maybe even 5,000, depending on the area. In Manhattan, oh no, 10,000. We're talking about somewhere between $10,000 and $15,000 per month, probably. 10 to 15,000. You heard me. $10,000 to $15,000 per month in Manhattan for the place I was renting. All right. This is the difference with America and overseas. You have to be aware. You guys need to be aware of what's available, and don't let them pull the blanket over your eye. By the way, guys, if you're enjoying these videos, I want you to go ahead and subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications to never miss another video again, and also like the video so YouTube knows that you're enjoying these videos and you want to see more of them. Guys, if you want to help me to put out more content, donate, give me some Red Bull money so I can have my wings and have more energy to drop more content. You can drop some cash via Cash App, PayPal, or Venmo, and you can find all the links in the description of the video. I mean, guys, Western women are being shamed by Filipinas for mocking the passport bros, and the Filipinos are checking them. The Filipinos are putting them in check, because these women seem to think that they can get away with whatever they want to. They can mock men, they can treat men however they want to, and they can mock the Filipinas and treat the Filipinas however they want to. And the Filipinos are letting these women know. This lady actually said, this Filipina said, why the black women are so angry at the Filipinas is because the black men are walking away. They are leaving the black women. meaning that the black women are unwanted by these men. These men are turning their backs. The black women are saying, oh, these are the unwanted men, but these are the men who are walking away, and these men are wanted by the women overseas. They're wanted by these Asian women. The Asian women want them. They are in love with these black men. They are praising these black men. Okay? They're taking them, they are scooping them up like Scooby snacks. What does that tell you? The black women are insulting black men, saying that these are the broke boys. How are you a broke boy if you're purchasing a $1,000 ticket or a $1,500 ticket to go to Asia? How are you a broke boy if you are able to go over to Asia and get yourself a wife and get a place to live and set it up and furnish it and then provide for your wife and a child? Granted, the cost of living is lower, but you're able to do all of these things and live comfortably with her. How are you a broke boy? These are men with money. These are the men with money that are walking away. You have a lot of these men that make over $100,000 a year. Even men who don't, $30,000 a year. That's like $300,000 over there. A lot of guys who are not stupid are able to live on $1,000 a month, and that's less than $1,000 a month. That live smart. Because there's some people that go over there and they act stupid and they're paying $100 for a dollar cup of coffee. They're doing things like buying Filipina's cars when they don't even have a driver's license, or giving all their money to the Filipina to manage when she didn't even finish high school. There's some guys doing stupid things over there, So you have to be smart. You go over there and you get fooled by someone. Oh, I want to start a business, or you get into a relationship and a Filipino family is telling you that you need to pay X and X amount of money to save the Filipina from a biker gang. That's or some nonsense. You have to use common sense. One of the best ways to avoid this, because when I lived overseas, I had some terrible things happen to me because people will prey upon you when you have money. What do? Smart thing to do. Get an attorney. The moment you set foot in that country, get an attorney. Get an attorney. Everything you do. If you want to start a business, have an attorney. Find your own attorney. Don't let someone get an attorney for you either. Never let someone get an attorney for you, because that attorney is not working for you if they're working for them, especially if they're trying to rip you off. You have to be very busy, very careful. Get an attorney. Do your research. Join a community of. This is one of the things. Some advice I'm going to give you. I'm going to be putting out a package for you guys that's going to teach you a lot of things. But this is some quick, very, very quick advice. Do not just head over to the Philippines if you're going to go over there and you're planning. That's where you're planning to set up shop, right? If you're going to go somewhere, get an attorney. Do your research. Or at least speak to someone. At least speak to an attorney, and then when you go over there, look for reviews, or you can even do things like join foreigner groups. All right, and do some research and find an attorney that they use, and the different kinds of attorneys. Have an attorney. I've mentioned this once before. Get an attorney. Speak to them. Put them on retainer. It is going to be extremely cheap to put one of these people in the Philippines on retainer. All right. Because when you have an attorney on retainer in a foreign country, okay, it changes the game big time. Because right off the bat, you step foot in that country, you notify your attorney, hey, I'm in the country. Okay? They know you're in the country. Here's what you do. You make sure that they'll be asking you for certain information. Like, okay, send me over this information, and this information. So, for example, your attorney might keep a copy of your passport. You're going to say, what? They're an attorney. But you have to do your research and make sure that they have their credentials. But your attorney might do something like keep a copy of your passport. They might keep they'll have emergency contact information for your family member or for family members or whatever. They'll know what to do. They'll have specific instructions for what to do if you get sick, or if you're arrested, or whatever serious matters arise. When you have that when you have that in place, all right, you are no longer alone in that country. Okay? Anything that happens, you immediately say, I want my attorney. All right? And your attorney can immediately help you. Don't wait until you get over there. This is a pro tip that no one else talks about. You look at join some foreigner groups, and you can find yourself a good attorney. I already know a good attorney over in the Philippines. And I'm going to be putting together a package so that you guys can immediately have attorneys available to you as soon as you go to the Philippines, for example. So you'll know exactly where to go. You'll have an attorney sitting ready for you that's actually worked with other passport bros and is actually married to a passport bro. And that's, yeah, I'm gonna hook you guys up. But this is just a tip. This is just one of the tips I'm giving you guys. All right. Know what you're doing, and you will feel so good. You will feel so good. Another important thing that you can do, if you're able to, is to get to know an attorney in the United States. Get to know an attorney in the United States. If you have an attorney in the US, that's good. One of the good things to do is to, even if you don't have them on retainer, you can develop a relationship with them. Have a seat with them, talk with them. Sometimes you don't have to put them on retainer, but just knowing who they are, getting to know them, having reviews, someone, if something happens, you can have them reach out to this attorney, and you can immediately, and then you can put them on, and you can hire them immediately, all right? Because you at least have that. You don't want to be in a foreign country and suddenly something happens, and now you have to search for an attorney in America to help you out. If you do your research beforehand, you will have that in place. All right? And what you're going to do is you're going to have an attorney, even if that's going to have your back. And even if let's say you're having an immigration issue, even if they cannot address it, because they're an attorney, they can find someone who can address it. All right? By doing this, you will have an immense amount of peace of mind. An immense amount of peace of mind, because now you are not alone. No matter where you go, you are not alone. And because if people think that you're alone, they'll try to take advantage of you. They may even try to hurt you. They might try to use extortion. A lot of things like that can happen. This is why you have to know what you're doing. All right? And these are just some traveler tips that I had to learn the hard way, but I'm able to share that knowledge with you. All right? Oh my gosh, you guys have to just remember that at the end of the day, men and women both have their own. There's male nature, there's female nature. Not all women are bad, but they all have female nature. But the difference is culture. Culture makes a huge difference. There's a story, and I don't know if the story is true, but the story goes like this, and I think it may have been the Vikings or some. I think it took place in Europe, in old Europe, and the story goes, and you may have heard the story before. A village was invaded by conquerors, right? Maybe Vikings, and the Vikings decided that they were going to unalive all the men in the village, but they told the women that we're going to let you go. So we're not going to hurt the women. They told the women, we're going to let all of you go, but we are going to unalive the men. And they said, you can take one thing, and before you go, you can take one thing from your homes. You can take one thing, and then and we'll allow you to leave with that one thing. All right? We've captured your village. It belongs to us. All right? You can take one thing, and then you guys can leave. All right? And the story goes, the women, using their heads, ran to the men and started putting the men on their backs. And they started trying to carry the men away. The conquerors, this is the story. The men who were conquering the village were so shocked and so moved by the gesture that they immediately promised not to unalive the men, because in their hearts They were so taken aback that these women, when given the option of taking only one thing, they chose to take the men. They suddenly it touched their hearts because because immediately they would have thought, would my wife do something like this for me? Would our women do something like this for us? Right? So these women are special. And it moved them so much that they promised to spare the men. Right? Because women back then knew that material possessions mean nothing. They mean nothing. You cannot have a society without men. All the things that are built in society are built because of men. Without men, you don't have infrastructure. Without men, you don't have food, you have no shelter, you have no infrastructure. You don't even have running water. Everything shuts down without men. And women in modern society have forgotten this because they've turned to their sugar daddy, Uncle Sam, right? And what they don't seem to understand is that Uncle Sam is more of a pimp than a sugar daddy. And here's the funny thing about that too, because if you want to call him a sugar daddy, it's one thing when daddy's taking care of the sugar baby, but when daddy wants his sugar, suddenly the sugar baby is like, huh? What do you mean? That's when they don't want to give up the butt. All right. Women today have they've sold their souls. And basically, I've said this before, the devil's coming to collect. They got their reward, women in the West. They've gotten their rewards, and now they're going to get their punishments, and they're desperately trying to avoid getting their punishment. Heed my warning, very well in the future, they may push for laws to prevent men from traveling to other countries and getting into relationships with these women and bringing these women back to the U.S. The funny thing is, most men won't even want to bring these women back to the U.S. So that right there, that's going to be out the window. And some women are going to realize, oh well, yeah, that doesn't make any sense because these guys are staying over there, and they're taking the money that they would give to these women in America, and they're investing it in these women overseas and in these countries. All right, let me tell you what's insane. I know men. I've met some of these passport bros. I met a guy from, like, for example, I've met some of these passport bros. All right. I've met some of these passport bros. And let me tell y'all about these dudes. Some of these dudes, what they do is they work in the US. I've met like 2 passport bros, right? Because passport bros don't just come from America. There's some that come from America, and there's some that come from other countries. Other countries, yeah. And what they do is they come to America, or they're from America, but they don't stay in America. But they don't permanently stay in America. They work in America, and they live very, very cheap. They live very, very cheap. Okay? They don't rent any big apartment. They look for the cheapest thing they can find, and that's where they live. We're talking about if they can find something for $500 a month, that's what they're gonna live in, because all they're doing is sleeping there, and they work. They work. And whatever money they make, they take that and they send it back. They put it in the bank and they send money back to the country where their wives are and where their children are. They don't spend their money in the U.S. They don't buy anything in the U.S. They don't buy any property. They have nothing to do with the U.S. except all they do is earn their money here, and they take that money all back to whatever country. It could be the Dominican Republic. It could be somewhere in Africa. It could be somewhere in Asia. It doesn't matter. They have their wives over there. They're not bringing their wives to America. They have their kids over there. They're not bringing their kids to America. What they're doing is they're sending that money back over there, and they're building homes over there. They're building businesses over there, and that's what they do. They work in America, and then they send everything back home, back to that country. All right, and they said that's the only place that they spend their money, and that's what's happening right now. The passport bros are a trend. But as soon as it's going to become a very normal thing, and I've said this, trends become normalities, and normalities become traditions. And what we're heading for, you're going to see this in the coming years, is going to be all walks of life. It's not just going to be men in their 20s, because the men in their 20s are already doing, a lot of young men in their 20s are doing the passport bro thing right now. A lot of young men in their 20s, in their early 30s, and in their 20s, a lot of these dudes are doing the passport bro thing right now. All right? No, we're talking about, it's going to be high schoolers and kids in junior high, and then kids in junior high. You're going to have little 12-year-old and 13-year-old boys that are going to have little girls as girlfriends in Eastern European countries, or over in the Philippines or Vietnam or Thailand. And they're going to talk to they're going to meet these little girls online through Facebook or whatever app, because these kids are crazy with apps. They're going to meet these girls online. They're going to fall in love with some little Filipina in the Philippines or in Vietnam or Thailand or some Eastern European country, all right? And they're going to say, Mommy, I want to go visit her over the summer. And that's literally how it's going to go, all right? They're going to have foreign girlfriends. You heard me right. They're going to be 13-year-old boys with foreign girlfriends. Foreign girlfriends. A bunch of boys. You're going to see this. They're going to be in America, the UK, Australia. It's going to be as young as 13, even 12. All right? They're going to have foreign girlfriends. And they're going to want to go and visit their girlfriends during summer vacation. And the parents are going to work things out. This is what's going to happen. The parents are going to have to work things out so that their kids can see one another eventually. Sometimes the relationship will go on for years, and they'll eventually, and once the kid is old enough to do it, on their own, they might work a couple of summers, and then finally, after like 3 or 4 years, they save up enough money, and then when they graduate from high school, they head over to whatever country their girlfriend is in, and they go visit her. All right? And this is I'm telling y'all, this is how it's going to go. All right? You're literally going to have men of all walks of life. Boys, because boys are men too. You need to respect the boys. We were all boys once, and we know that, the difference between being 13 and 20 and 13 and 23 and 33 and 43. We're still that same person. We're still that same kid. Sure, we've matured a bit, but we're still that same person. And we just get more freedom, and but we're still the same person. We need to respect these young men. We need to respect boys and empower boys, because this is strange. Back when a kid turned 13 or 14, they were considered a man, and they were expected to act like a man at that age. This whole crap about, oh, well, now you're like 20 something or 30 and you're still, no. Men by that age, you were expected to begin developing your masculinity and asserting yourself and learning how to become a protector and a provider, and how to create, maintain, lead. These were things that were expected of young men back then. It's only because we live in a very strange time right now why things are so different. Anyway, guys, that's all I have for you. Western women are being shamed by Filipinas for mocking the passport bros, and I don't feel bad for them. Let me know what you think in the comments, as you already know what I think. And guys, again, if you enjoy these videos, consider dropping a donation via Cash App or via PayPal. You can see the links on the screen, and the links are also in the description of the video. Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe, and if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA. Ben walking away, and cheers.